Cars on the formation lap here at Paul Ricard, Le Castellet in France. This is race 4 of the AutoGP Series 2014, being led around by our pole sitter Yoshitaka Kuroda. There's your championship leader, car number 16, Kimi Sato. Brand new wet weather tyres for the drivers for this first wet race of the season. Last wet race in AutoGP was race 2 Monza, the opening race weekend last year. Kimi Sato, our championship leader, starts here in 6th position. Marcus Pommer, his closest rival, starts in 7th place, finished in front of him in race 1 yesterday. Thomas Palkis 3rd in the championship, won for the first time. We've had 3 different race winners this year, and the best of them on the grid is in 6th. In fact, they are 6th, 7th and 8th. So it's possible in these wet conditions, and it is pretty wet and looking resiliently as if it will stay wet. We could well have another new winner in our 4th race. Ben Edwards reports to the pit lane, even as I say, it's resiliently wet, that it has now stopped raining. It was raining quite hard earlier on, after the end of touring car race 1. You can see in the background some very leaden skies there. Where's the weather coming from? Ambient. It's very hard to tell because there's not a breath of wind in the place. I'm looking across at the airfield. Ooh, it's blowing those clouds towards us, actually. The airfield wind sock beside us is barely moving off the flagpole, but it is telling us that the wind is coming from the direction in which the nasty weather resides. You can see how wet it is. Still lots of spray being thrown up by these big fat Kumo wet weather tyres. These were all brand new tyres delivered to the test in Valencia. So anybody who's got scrub tyres on their car and waiting in the pit lane may just have a tiny little iota of advantage. However, it is going to be about managing the 550 rampant Zytec horses in these conditions. There's a gap on the grid. No Loris Spinelli. Where has he gone on the warm-up lap? Grid is almost complete. Loris Spinelli has pulled into the pit lane, but it is poleman Yoshitaka Kuroda on the right of your picture who'll lead them away. Lots of wheel spin. Great start from Michela Ceruti. Excellent start from the Italian girl, and through comes the black car of Kevin Gevesi. He gets by Andrea Roda, got away from his fellow Italian. It's Michela Ceruti who leads though for Supernova, and that is the dream start for the Italian girl. From the outside the front row of the grid, she can see where she's going. And if she ignores Kevin Gevesi behind her until she gets onto the straight for the first time here, then she has a great opportunity to start to move away from the field. Loris Spinelli having a technical horror story this weekend. Again, he is out of the race before it even started. And skating around there, Michele La Rosa in the chicane. So coming towards us is Michela Ceruti. Kevin Gevesi in 2nd place. Yoshitaka Kuroda in 3rd, our pole sitter, and Giuseppe Cipriani in 4th. The Italian gentleman racer who finished on the podium race 1 in Marrakesh is already up to 4th place in his matte black car, and Thomas Palkis on the inside of Andrea Roda, the blue car. Palkis, the next car, almost speared there by Kimi Sato. Well, you've got to stay off the racing line on this Paul Ricard circuit in these conditions. But even spotting where the track goes is very tricky indeed. Any visual references beside you are a long way from the racing surface. So much runoff area here. Running very wide, the blue car, and who's that who's been clattered? That is Sato. Who has he hit? The back off, not Palkis. 16 is Sato. He's lost his right front nose wing, and he has hit the back of Thomas Palkis. So across the line is Michela Ceruti from Kevin Gevesi by 1.3 seconds. Good news for her. Then everybody else. Pick him out in the spray. Kuroda, Cipriani, Roda, Palkis, Sato, Pommer. Breath to De Jonge and La Rosa. And Andrea Roda trying to go around the outside of Thomas Palkis as they come onto the Mistral. Short run up to the chicane. And it doesn't work for him, and he's got Kimi Sato right behind him. Now, the pit lane for tyre stops is only open after 3 laps have been completed, so Sato must try and hang on at least till then. Michela Cerruti, what a great opportunity for the multidisciplined Italian driver. She has great visibility, as much as you can in wet weather conditions. Everybody else battling behind her in the spray. And look at the two different racing lines converging as Roda goes a long way around the outside. Sato tries to hold the tight line, crosses the racing line and then skates very wide indeed. And then diving inside him was Marcus Pommer. Didn't work for the Supernova driver. Tell you what, Kimi Sato was lucky not to clatter Andrea Roda off the road there. There's your lead pair, Michela Cerruti with the yellow highlights on her dark blue Supernova car, and Kevin Gervasi goes a long way around the outside. He's on the inside at Virage Dupont, the battle for the lead, and he's got the traction, cuts her off, exiting the corner to take the lead of the race. Well, she must have made a mistake somewhere in the last few corners for Gervasi to close. Now she's on the outside. Gervasi with the inside line. She's on the racing line, so she'll actually perversely have slightly less traction. Gervasi parks it in the apex and can't get the traction to get off it, but she can't get around him either. It's a good little dice for the lead, Kevin Gervasi, ahead of Michela Cerruti. Yoshitaka Kuroda was third at line. There he is, the first of the two Zeli racing cars, and looping round into a spin under braking is Giuseppe Cipriani. Oh, just trying to dive inside Tamas Palkis for fourth place, which he had lost on the line. Watch again. Looks, the moment he touches the brake, car is not straight and it loops around on him. And lucky that everybody avoided him. He will rejoin. And then the Zeli Racing duo, Kuroda and Palkis, third and fourth, and Spinelli with a gearbox problem. Same as Sam de Jonge in race one. Palkis the second of these two cars. Wow, and Spinelli with a cracked gearbox casing. So not the same problem that befell Sam de Jonge in race one. Same area of the car. Well, dreadful start, I'm afraid, for our pole position man, Yoshitaka Kuroda. And from the outside the front row of the grid, Michela Cerruti made the very best of her advantage to take the lead. Very difficult conditions in the spray. Tamas Palkis driving around the outside of Yoshitaka Kuroda. But Kuroda's got back by him, has he? No, he hasn't. There is Kuroda behind fellow Japanese Kimi Sato, who's now up to fourth. Kuroda's gone from third to fifth, and he's tried the long way around the outside, been eased off onto the curbs. Oh dear. Battle for the lead. Michela Cerruti outbrakes herself and lives to fight another day. Didn't run into the back of Kevin Gervasi, but she's lost ground there at turn one. Gervasi really throwing the car around. There's your race leader, coming off the chicane along the Mistral and up to Signa. I'm guessing that's not flat in top in these conditions. Second, Michela Cerruti. Third, Tamas Palkis. Fourth, Kimi Sato. Fifth, Giuseppe Cipriani, back in front of Yoshitaka Kuroda, who's going backwards, sinking like a stone, down towards Andrea Roda and Marcus Pommer, who can make no progress at the moment. Well, I don't know what Giuseppe Cipriani had for breakfast, but these guys need to be having the same, because they're being shown the way home by a very nearly 50-year-old gentleman racer. And it's not like he's got a wealth of experience racing these cars in the rain. Slightly more, maybe. No, Kuroda, Roda, they've raced them in the rain. Marcus Pommer hasn't. Oh, and Pommer under pressure from his own teammate. I beg your pardon, Roda under pressure from his own teammate, Sam de Jonge. And Roda with the green mirrors holds off de Jonge. And how similar are their helmets? It's bad enough the cars are the same colour, but the helmets are almost the same colour. And into the pit lane comes Pommer, Marcus Pommer. So he comes down to Supernova. Well, they set their car up soft for the wet weather, as you see. Andrea Roda try and go inside down Sam de Jonge. That's not working. De Jonge using the long way round, finding more traction. Stays in front. Underneath my commentary position comes our first pit caller, Marcus Pommer. He has a full scrub set of wets. He's just taking rears, though. 4-tyre change takes too long. Loads of wheel spin off the painted pit apron as he tries to rejoin the track. So Kevin Gervasi leads from Michele Cerruti, Thomas Palkis in third, then Kimi Asato, Giuseppe Cipriani, Yoshitaka Kuroda ahead of these two, Sam de Jonge and Andrea Roda. Well, did Virtuosi soften off their suspension enough? If the track dries, will the race come to their drivers? At the moment, they seem to be struggling for traction, and that's, in these conditions, perhaps an indication that the car is still relatively stiff and the tyre is sliding across the road rather than gripping onto it. Certainly seen Andrea Roda there, the car writhing around under him. And in front of the two of them as well, Yoshitaka Kuroda in the red, white and orange Zelle racing car, similarly besmitten by a lack of traction. Of this trio, it's the car in the middle of your picture, Sam de Jonge, that seems to have the best traction. Into pit lane comes Andrea Roda. Well, if he's hoping they're going to make changes to the car, he's in for a long pit stop. More pit corners. It's Michele La Rosa who comes in as well. Roda 8th, La Rosa 9th. And there is Andrea Roda. Fresh rears. They look as though they've had a lap on them. They look as though they're scrubbed. I think the Virtuosi UK team were one of those that did put on scrub tyres. Michele La Rosa, car now run by Euronova, heads out. Battle for 6th place. Yoshitaka Kuroda ahead of the blue car of Sam de Jonge, the Belgian driver. Look at the understeer from Kevin Gervasi, our race leader. 1:36.79, his fastest lap so far. Fastest lap in the dry, 1:18.34. We may be some while, boys and girls, from the tipping point between a wet and a slick. Again, talking to a couple of team managers, they said, depending on what's coming out of the sky, we're going to play it by ear. In comes Kimi Asato. He's obviously decided that his rears are giving up too much grip and wants a fresh set. And there's Michele Cerruti ahead of Thomas Palkis. I think Palkis will leave his pit stop till right at the end of the race at this rate. He's making good progress. This is what he did in race 1 when he was leading. Or when he was chasing, he was in 2nd place. He nursed the tyres. And the team wanted to come in at the same time as the race leader. He said, no, I've got more life in the tyres. Did another few very quick laps. And they ended up coming back out of the pit lane in the lead. You just saw Kimi Asato blasting away. Oh, big slide there from Kuroda ahead of de Jonge. More power than grip everywhere. There's Kimi Asato, fresh out of the pits. Still missing that half front wing. They obviously decided not to bother changing it. Perhaps not getting quite as much grip from the tyres in these conditions, that the aerodynamics are having as much of an effect. Change the balance of the front a little bit, but there's so low traction anyway, he may not even be noticing it. That visually, he might not have spotted he's lost any bit of his wing. Thomas Palkis comes up behind Michele Cerruti and dives immediately into the pit lane. So on this pit stop, maybe Zelle Racing might have the chance to keep him in the hunt for victory. And there is Cerruti in 2nd place. Again, very good opportunity for the Italian lady to step on the podium here. And for our race leader, Kevin Gervasi, Eurotech will have to do a good job for him in the pits as well. Rears only, as you would expect. Well, Palkis making a double race winning weekend. That'll be impressive for him here, to go from 8th to 1st in the wet. Race 1 winner goes to 8th place on the Race 2 grid as the top 8 in the finishing order are reversed. There's Sam de Jonge, he's come in as well, behind Yoshitaka Kuroda, so he surrenders what was 6th place. And your race leader, Kevin Gervasi, at the moment out front, not defending against anybody else. He's probably one of the drivers who's getting the best wear out of his tyres. Michela Ceruti just set the fastest first sector of anybody in her pursuit of the leader in 2nd place, but as you saw from the graphic, over 8 seconds behind. That's what 8 seconds looks like here at Paul Ricard. She is coming out of Beausset as he is heading down 2 corners further on around the track to Virage du Lac, and then into Virage du Pont onto the straight. Well, Gervasi fastest in sector 3, another new fastest lap, 1:35.59. Ceruti 1:36.21. So he is opening up the margin. 6/10 on that lap. And Michela still, like the race leader on her original tyres, lapping quicker than anybody else out there, with the exception of Marcus Pommer on fresher rears and Thomas Palkis also on fresher rears. So there is still life in the rear tyres of our race-leading trio, because this is Giuseppe Cipriani in 3rd place. Cipriani, 1:39.1 is his race best. He did a 1:41.5 last time to compare to a 35.5 of the race leader. So last lap he lost 6 seconds to Kevin Gervasi, not 6/10, 6 seconds to Gervasi. He's yet to stop, and he will drop down into the melee of the midfield. Yoshitaka Kuroda also yet to stop. As you can see behind, the order is Palkis, Sato, Pommer, de Jonge of those who have stopped. Andrea Rea in 5th place of those who have been through the pit lane. So Michela Ceruti, now this is where the brains on the pit wall are trying to work out how long it's going to take to stop her and how far in front of the next group of cars she is. She is 30 seconds ahead of Kuroda, who's not stopped. She's 40 seconds ahead of Palkis, who has. So how long is a pit stop? She needs to build that advantage, but Palkis is lapping quicker. No, he's not lapping quicker. Michela Ceruti is lapping quicker than Thomas Palkis, the fastest of the, or the first of the stoppers, of those who have stopped. So Kevin Gervasi also going quicker, another faster lap, 1:35.3. So in fact Palkis now goes quicker, 1:35.2. So Gervasi to Palkis, the first of those who has stopped, 46 seconds. And Palkis now starting to reap the rewards, a 10th quicker on the lap than Gervasi. And that means Gervasi can no longer open up the gap. And if that pattern is repeated in the next lap, then there is no time to be lost. Gervasi must get into the pits as soon as he can. Pit stop about 28 seconds, reckons Ben Constanduris, talking to the teams down in the garage. So Palkis, confirmation there of his fastest lap last time round. If Gervasi and Ceruti stop now, they will come back out in front, but the gap will decrease. Gervasi slower last lap than the previous one. Ceruti faster last lap than her previous one, 1:35.7. But still, that's not as quick as Thomas Palkis went last time round. Let's see what the Hungarian does. Well, you sense maybe that the gap is closing a little between the stopped and those yet to stop. There's Cipriani and Kuroda, 3rd and 4th, yet to stop. And in the background, Palkis, who has stopped. From the pit lane, Ben Constanduris reporting that Supernova are readying themselves to receive, well, who else but Michela Ceruti. Marcus Pommer, incidentally, in 7th place. And he might just about end up on the podium. 45.8 the gap between the first and the first of the stopped. Gervasi and Palkis. Palkis again, fastest man on track now down into the 34s. That's it. Time to get in the pits. Kevin Gervasi, our race leader. Now looking out of my window. You watch the screen, I'll lean out of the window. I think they are ready for him, or no, he comes by again, and this has got to be squandering an advantage. In is going to come Michele Ceruti. I think that's the right call. Of course, I'm in here commentator, and that's why I'm not a team boss. David and John Sears know an awful lot more than I, but I would say that the opportunity now to get in must be taken, because those who have stopped are lapping quicker than those who have not. At least one of them is, and that's all it takes to beat you. There's Giuseppe Cipriani, now up to second. He's having a great season this year. On the podium in Marrakesh, he said the first time since he was in Formula Palmer Audi. Here's Michele Ceruti. Let's have no dramas at the back. The Supernova guys well drilled. You see those scrubbed tyres, very different look to them. They weren't shiny and covered in release agent, and she goes back out on track. And that is Thomas Palkis. And right behind is Kimi Sato. So she comes in behind the top two who have stopped. And Sato might not get to her. Oh, he's going to try, though. Look at the body English. Suddenly, I mean, the Japanese's car has been moving around a lot. But he sees that somebody comes back out of the pits in front. That's an immediately new target compared to Palkis. Palkis fastest again last lap, 1:34.7. Leader doing 1:35.4. He's giving away 7/10 a lap. They can't leave him out there. They've now seen that Michele Ceruti had dropped back into the clutches of those who have stopped. And they know that their 15-second advantage over her might be enough now, but for how many more laps? He's coming up behind Michele La Rosa, who's in 10th place. And that's not going to help either. If he catches La Rosa and gets slowed down. Okay, I'm at a loss now to explain why Gervasi has not been in the pit lane. Admittedly, it is only lap 13 of 22. But are his rear tyres suddenly going to get better than those on the car of Thomas Palkis, which are fresher and have done less work? Well, we've already seen that Michele Ceruti from second place came out behind Thomas Palkis, who is now closing on Yoshitaka Kuroda, his teammate. Kuroda yet to stop. That's not working well at all for Kuroda, is it? Did I miss that? Has he been through the pits? On my timing monitor, it says no. It says Kuroda has not stopped. Well, significant fumbling of the ball there from Kuroda and his engineers, I'm afraid. He's been caught by his teammate who has stopped. Don't know which bit of not reading the small print they're doing. Kevin Gervasi still trying to produce the speed from the car, fastest first sector of the race for anyone. But Sam de Jonge and Thomas Palkis are going quicker than him, and they've stopped. Right. They've obviously had enough of me ranting on about it. The race leader is on pit road. Kevin Gervasi comes in. Giuseppe Cipriani must also. Yoshitaka Kuroda must surely as well. Kuroda is just giving away performance hand over fist. He can't possibly get any slower by putting on fresh tyres. I'm not really understanding at all why they didn't bring him in. The Durango boys go to work on Gervasi's car. Kevin Gervasi nominally being run by Eurotech Engineering, but the manpower comes from the Italian Durango team. Maximum wheel spin off the pit apron, and he will come out in front of... Well, in front of Marcus Pommer. I know, in front of Giuseppe Cipriani, who is the race leader. So Gervasi losing almost a full lap. Cipriani is yet to stop, but there is the target that they were trying to beat, Thomas Palkis. So Thomas now knows, or will be told by his team, the leader is in front. Ignore the car in the middle, he's still got to stop. And good work by Gervasi. And the team getting out in front of Cipriani, but only just. And Palkis there in car number 9 will be going to Cipriani. Attack him, attack him, attack him. Slow him down for me. And Cipriani will be doing exactly that if he can. We now know that Cipriani will lose the lead when he comes through the pit lane. How far down will he drop? Thomas Palkis still the fastest man on track, and the lap time's coming down, 34.08 now. Fastest dry lap, 18.34, so still a long way from being a quick track. Giovinazzi pushing hard, long look in the mirrors as he looks through the corners as well to see who's where. Good opportunity there just to scan the horizon behind him. And he will be told by the team as he comes across the line how close Thomas Palkis is. Giovinazzi's first lap out of the pits. And he's got, what, a 4, 5 second, maybe 6 seconds nearly over Palkis. No, less than that, 2.9 according to timing. My counting's rubbish then, isn't it? Cipriani in second place. In finally comes Kuroda, who has been passed by the leaders. That didn't play out at all well. Not quite sure what was going on either with the driver or the team. Why on earth he stayed out quite so long. His teammate clearly showed the way to go and it was totally ignored. Off come the old wets, on go the new. A lot sharper edges on those, a lot more grip. Not too late, though, to actually have a material effect on the race. Yoshitaka Kuroda comes out on his own in a sea of one. Meanwhile, behind Giuseppe Cipriani, who is still owing us a pit stop, is Thomas Palkis, and you can almost sense the frustration from the Hungarian. Eating the Italian spray. He's got to get by him or it'll slow him right down, and Giovinazzi will never be catchable. But he knows also that Cipriani has got to stop in the pits, but Palkis, wasting no time, goes around the outside, and Cipriani left him racing room. He knows he's not eventually going to be in the battle for the win here, so let somebody who is get going. Now, what's that done to the gap? Last time round, Giovinazzi to Palkis was 2.95. This time round, Giovinazzi to Palkis 3.12, so it didn't do a lot. 2/10, but that might be enough in half a dozen laps' time. Giovinazzi leads on to lap 16 of 22, Palkis in second place. And for the first time in a dozen laps, Thomas Palkis was not the fastest man on track. Battle between the Supernova drivers. Michele Cerruti in 88, Marcus Pommer in 1. Supernova have produced the champion driver and been the champion team in the last 2 AutoGP seasons. Michele Cerruti doing her best to hold on from teammate Marcus Pommer. Pommer winner of race 2 in Marrakesh. German driver closing in on the Italian lady, but very little to choose between them. Michele's first sector was quicker than her teammate by half a second as you watch the race leader. Thomas Palkis again going purple in sector 1, and that means a faster time than anybody has produced. Well, Palkis' time in AutoGP and then since in GP2, or previously in GP2, has given him good ability to manage his tyres. Of that much we can be certain. There's no questioning his pacer either. So 3.1 last time round. The gap first to second. 2.4, goodness me. A 1:33.9 for Giovinazzi, a 1:33.2 for Palkis. And in comes Cipriani. He was not the race leader either. He dropped to third by the time he came into the pits. And that makes Kimi Sato now the man in third place, despite that 2/3 of a front nose wing he's got. Michele Cerruti fourth, Marcus Pommer fifth. Giuseppe Cipriani in the pit lane. Scrub tyres. Again, you can see they've not got the shine on them of a brand new out of the mould tyre. So just one lap is enough on the formation laps to make a difference for the first few corners. It only takes you to get one corner wrong. And he comes out in front of, I'm guessing Yoshitaka Kuroda, that would be in the background. Yes, looks like the ZA Racing driver. Of course, now the grip level will suddenly be higher for Cipriani, but for our race leader here, Kevin Gervaisi, his grip still not quite giving him what he wants compared to Thomas Palkis, who's on older tyres. Palkis stopping 6, 8, maybe more laps before the leader, going quicker again. Purple sector 1 for Gervaisi. Both he and Palkis quickest on this lap that they have been throughout the race. New fastest race lap again for Thomas Palkis. Gervaisi went faster than him in sector 1 and 3, and yet Palkis still went quicker. 33.3 to 32.9, another 4/10. The gap is 2 seconds, and Palkis is relentlessly closing in on the leader. Now, as less rain has fallen in the last 20 minutes, or no rain at all has fallen, the track is getting less wet, there's less spray everywhere. Whose tyres will hold on best? Whose race setup will prove better in the long run? Kimi Sato in third. You just saw him coming out of the chicane. Behind him, Marcus Pommer, who's got by Michele Ceruti. So change between the Supernova drivers, and Pommer now just 4.7 seconds behind Sato at the line. Looked like less than that in the chicane. Still leaden skies in the distance, and they are coming our way. Potentially more rain yet to come. Cipriani for crossing the white line at the pit exit. Oh dear, that's not going to help his frame of mind. He was having a really good run as well in the wet weather conditions. Kevin Gervaisi and Thomas Palkis going the long way round the outside. You can see how much less spray there is. And if you stay off the racing line, there's more grip. Palkis didn't look to get hooked up off the corner well. I'm not sure that's going to help him. Gervaisi goes fastest, 132.7, 132.9 for Palkis, so it wasn't an optical illusion. Palkis did get the final corner wrong, lost 2/10 on that lap. So the 2/10 he won the previous lap, given away by one error on that lap, and that's the drama of racing in the rain. Not always about wheel to wheel. Well, let's see as Giuseppe Cipriani comes out. Yep, couldn't control the wheel spin, crossed the line there. Ooh, and really crossed the line there, and you can't argue that that was just about wheel spin. Bang to right, Governor. Down to Mistral into Senior. And every lap they turn in here, there'll be just a little more squirm under them, little less grip from these tyres, which are being very hard pressed. This is hardly full wet. These big tread blocks on the wet weather Kumo tyre, as with every other wet weather tyre, are going to just struggle more as the track dries out, the temperature builds, and that hurts the tyre even more. And you'll see the drivers going down the straight will be hunting up against the pit roads, looking for wet weather, looking for water to try and cool their covers, try and give the tyres a fighting chance of hanging on. Well, Marcus Pommer closing again on Kimi Sato that lap. This is the battle for third. As we said a couple of laps ago, he got by teammate Michele Ceruti. There she is in the background. Italian lady led the opening couple of laps from the front row of the grid. And there's our race leader now. Gap maintained at 2 seconds flat. Palkis just 1/10 quicker than Gervaisi that time round. So are we now seeing Thomas Palkis having had the best of his tyres? Is this now Kevin Gervaisi's race to win? Down the long Mistral straight with nobody close to him, Kevin Gervaisi moves right over to the wet part of the track to cool his tyres. Thomas Palkis in second place does likewise, because he knows that this ultra-fast right-hander at Senior and this long double right-hander at Beausset will be murder on the wet weather tyres. They've done their job when the conditions were at their wettest, and now it's up to the driver to try and nurse them through to the end. Got to say, this Kumo tyre has survived really well in these conditions. The cars are getting quicker and quicker as the track dries. We've not seen any drop-off in performance yet. We're seeing a fastest lap almost every lap round from the leaders, and now from Marcus Pommer in fourth. Quickest lap of the race is also from Kimi Sato, from Michele Ceruti, and from Angelo Roda. So the drivers are getting quicker and quicker. The tyre is holding up, and the grip is still coming to them. Down pit road comes Giuseppe Cipriani to serve his drive-through. Kevin Gevesi still leads. Gap coming down again. Thomas Palkis, yet another faster race lap from him. 32.8. That is his best lap of the race. New fastest lap of the race from Marcus Pommer. 1:32.39 from the man in fourth place. Closing right in on Kimi Sato. So the battle for first and second, the gap now below 2 seconds. Sato 9 seconds behind Palkis there. And there is the Japanese driver. And Marcus Pommer, we will see in a second. Look for the blue car with the yellow flashes. There he is. So that's your battle for the final podium spot. Penultimate lap. They are running out of time. Palkis is not going to get to Gevesi, is he? Stopping early worked well. Got him up the order. Got him into the top three. But Gevesi's tyres are fresher. His rears have got more life in them, and those are the ones that are really doing all the work, trying to get traction out of the tight corners, out of the chicanes, trying to put that 550 horsepower from the Zytec V8 on this wet Paul Ricard circuit. And still, Gevesi and Palkis the long way round the outside. In the dry, pick a line, any line will do there, but in the wet, you want to stay off the rubber and oil that's been left by other cars. Kevin Gevesi heads on to lap 22 of 22 here in Le Castellet. Thomas Palkis down to 1.2 seconds, another faster lap for Palkis. Having just said he's not going to catch him, window of opportunity. And what about the battle for third? Sato, oh, Marcus Pommer's made a mistake. He's gone out from 1 point something to 3.5 seconds behind Sato. That one surely is decided. But Gevesi cannot relax one iota. He's got to have 100% focus to the line, because Palkis might get to him. Michele La Rosa in front of them. He's got ahead of Giuseppe Cipriani after the Italians drive through, after the fellow Italians drive through, off the straight and through Signa. And now into Beausset for the final time, and Palkis is getting closer with every corner. We could see a last lap lunge. He's still a long way back. It's still a half second and more. Half a dozen car lengths in it. Gevesi 2 corners from the straight. Palkis closer again. Every time he gets on the brakes and the throttle, he closes. But Gevesi is going to have just enough in hand, surely. Out of Virage du Lac, 1 corner remains. Don't toss it away. Kevin Gevesi from Virage du Pont to the checkered flag is a short sprint. Gevesi first onto the straight. Blue flags wave. He's not going to be caught. Kevin Gevesi is going to be our 4th different race winner in 4 starts in AutoGP. Thomas Palkis takes 2nd place. Kimi Sato is going to be the man in 3rd. He's nearly 10 seconds back. He goes by Giuseppe Cipriani. And in 4th place is Marcus Pommer. Michele Ceruti will be 5th, but Kevin Gevesi, well, it got tight at the end, and maybe they left him out a few laps too long. Could have been a little less pressure on him, because the gap was coming down lap after lap, with Palkis having stopped earlier and on fresher tyres catching Gevesi. In the end, Gevesi had just enough in hand to make his stop and come back out in front. So Kevin Gevesi winning for Eurotech Engineering. Eurotech Durango team putting their man in with an opportunity to win the race. He took it well. Good start from him from 5th on the grid. Avoided drama in the early couple of laps. Got his head down. Got to say, Thomas Palkis in 2nd place. Had a great race as well. Outstanding stuff from yesterday's race winner.